Hello everyone, and welcome to my Moments of Love. If you're new here, my name is Wemi, and I love to talk about life, and whether that's children, homeschooling, being a mommy, just enjoying life, living life, whatever the topic is, I love to discuss it. So today we're going to discuss something a little bit different that I don't think we've talked about on here before. We're gonna go into our feelings, y'all. Feelings, that topic. I was encouraged to come on here and talk about this because I've been struggling with the direction of my channel. I enjoy talking about fun things, but I'm also someone that, if you get to know me, I'm a very introspective person, and I love sharing my introspection results and stuff with people. So I've been trying to figure out a way to bring that to you guys, and hopefully you guys don't just feel like, shut up, Wemi. Hopefully you're open to it and you're cool with listening to the results of my introspections over the years. So today, first of all, let's get us out of the way. I cut my hair. There you go. I did something a little bit different. There you go. So let's just get that elephant in the room out of the way. And on to today's topic. As the title of this video already told you, we're talking about forgiveness. What does it mean to forgive someone? I'm literally jumping right into it. In my experience, to truly, sorry, my neck is all like itchy. Sorry. In my experience, to truly forgive another person is to be able to acknowledge the pain, the hurt, whatever it is that transpired within that relationship, and be able to look at it without pain. It's essentially, for me, forgiveness is removing the pain from an experience, removing the pain from a person, and removing the power that that pain has over your life. To me, that's what it means to truly forgive someone. And I think it's something that we all struggle with at different points in our lives. And whether it's friendships, relationships, family members, we all struggle with forgiveness at one point or the other. Because let's be honest, we can truly only be hurt by those we care about, right? If you don't care about someone, you can't be hurt by an action or something, because it's a non-event, you know? But once you care, you do open yourself up to hurt. And that's just a natural part of life. Does that mean you should never care about someone? Absolutely not, because you miss out on something beautiful if you choose to try to avoid pain entirely by not caring about others. I think there's something beautiful in caring about others. There's something amazing in the vulnerability that occurs in close relationships with friends, family, loved ones, whatever the case might be. So I wanted to discuss today just a little bit, I'm going to try to keep it short, about what forgiveness can look like and how you can walk the path to true forgiveness in your heart. I'm going to approach this from a lens of hopefully being able to speak to both people who are Christian and those who are not, because in my opinion, forgiving people, pain, isn't something that only Christians experience. It's not something that only non-believers experience. It's everyone. It is a universal situation. Pain is universal. It's one of the few things that's just entirely universal. Because pain is universal, so is the topic of forgiveness. And I'm going to start off with a song that spoke to my heart a lot when I was battling with forgiveness, with true forgiveness. I spent, I'm going to say, about 3 years of my life battling with forgiving people who had truly hurt me. And those people, for me, in that 3-year span, it was both friends, it was intimate relationships, and it was family. All three at once. It was a trifecta. And I found myself going into this really dark place. And once I realized that I was going there, and when I say dark place, I don't mean that I was emotionally dark. I wasn't trying to think of the right word and it's not coming to me, so I'm going to say depressed, but that's not necessarily what I mean by a dark place, because I don't want to equate those two things to be the same thing. But I was essentially in a place where, you know what, here's how I'm going to put it. I didn't see the light in relationships. That's the easiest way to put it. I didn't see light in my relationships. And that was a choice that I was making because I was walking around with bitterness in my heart and unforgiveness in my heart. So I couldn't truly accept the love of other people. And I couldn't give love to other people because it was always tainted by, oh, you're just gonna hurt me, so what's the point? It was always tainted by that thought in my head. So because I was always apprehensive and holding back, it was a day I truly realized that I haven't forgiven these people. I walk around saying I have, but I actually haven't. Because here's an example of the physiological reactions when you haven't forgiven someone. When the thought of seeing that person makes your heart beat 10 times faster, when you start sweating, when you can't sleep because you have to interact with this person, that usually means you haven't truly forgiven them. Because let me put it this way, the way that I see forgiveness is when you've forgiven someone, you can interact with them as though they were any stranger off the street. I'm not saying you got to be best friends with them and hug them and love them the same way, but you can interact with them with the same level of respect, acknowledgement, care that you would any stranger off the street. So if they were on fire, because we always say I would put you out if you're on fire, that kind of situation, people like to say that a lot. That means if they were on fire, you'd put them out. That's what forgiveness truly means, is that if that person were in pain, you would help them the way that you would any stranger off the street, because you have no bitterness in your heart towards them. I'm not saying you were happy with the way they treated you or the way the situation went, but you've come to a place where you're at peace with what it was and you've let go of the bitterness. One of the huge ways that I think we often get caught in a trap of unforgiveness is we are often waiting for an apology. We are waiting for the other party to acknowledge what they did to us. We are waiting for the other party to apologize, to do something grand, to be like, yes, I hurt you, or to say, yes, I'm the reason that your life went this way. We spend so much time waiting for that, and I think that's usually the first step towards true forgiveness, is letting go of that expectation. It is extremely hard to let that expectation go. I won't even play and pretend like, just wake up one day and say, I don't expect that anymore. It is hard. It is very hard to wake up and be able to say, I am okay that this person will never apologize to me. I am okay that I will never get to know why this person treated me this way. I am okay that I will never have this person acknowledge how much pain they caused me. You have to come to a point where you are okay with that. That's the first step. And getting to that first step, honestly, for me, took the intervention of the song that I mentioned, A Heart That Forgives by Kevin LeVar. That song really broke me down to my core and had me really look at myself and understand what it means to have a heart that forgives. So one of the lines he says is, I want a heart that forgives, a heart full of compassion just like yours above, one that overcomes hatred with goodness and love, like it never happened, never holding a grudge. That right there was just like, to me, it was a revelation to me, because that is the first step, is like it never happened. Like it never happened means like you're a stranger off the street. It means like you've never done me wrong. That's what it means, which means if the person wants a relationship with you again and they're willing to put in the work, because it doesn't mean they don't have to put in the work, they still do, and willing to put in the work, it means your heart is open. Your heart is open. How hard is that to say? Incredibly hard. Again, it doesn't mean the person's good for you. It's a really just mind-blowing thing. The person might want a new relationship with you and be willing to start all over and be perfect. But that doesn't mean the person is good for you. What you need to do in that situation is your heart needs to be open to assess the situation. Is this person actually good for me? If I met this person off the street and knew their character, is their character good in my life? Because quite often, not all the time, but quite often in those situations, you'll find that if you look back to the start of that relationship, you'll find that that person was just never good for you. It took you a long time to realize that. It took them hurting you to realize that they were not good for you. But once you realize that, it means, hey, you know what? Maybe we can't be boyfriend, girlfriend. Maybe we can't be best friends anymore, but we're cool. That's what it means. We're cool. Literally nothing against you. If something amazing happened to you, I would wish you the best like I would anybody else. If you got married tomorrow and invited me to your wedding, I would absolutely be there and I would celebrate you with an open, happy heart. To me, those are the signs that you have truly forgiven someone. But when you still have these physiological reactions to people's presence, or even the thought of their presence, that usually means you are still holding bitterness in your heart. Let's take having an ulcer. People often say, like doctors will say, stress can give you ulcers, which means the unforgiveness, the bitterness can have physiological results on your body. And guess what, bruh? The people who hurt you, they're not there when you have that ulcer. They are not there for that. So why let someone who has caused you pain and left your life continue to hurt your body? They've hurt your mind, but by letting them stay in your mind, you're giving them power over the rest of your body. And guess who has to deal with the ulcers? You do, not them. You do. So these to me are the motivations behind forgiveness. Is one, being able to not have physiological responses because of another person's presence. Negative physiological responses. Let me just make sure I'm being clear on that, because if they make you happy, that's fantastic. But if you're having negative reactions, you're getting anxiety, you're sweating, your blood pressure is going up, listen, nobody is worth your health. You get one body, one health. People will come, people will go. But when it comes down to your health and your body, a lot of times the people who have come and gone are not the ones there to deal with the repercussions of what happens with your body. And that leaves you in a state of regret that I think it's important to avoid if possible. I'll give you guys an example, another example from my personal life story. At a point, I remember I was with an ex, and I used to not be able to sleep because of this ex. As in, whenever I was around them, I was always on high alert. And I was always on high alert because I had this fear, which was very real because it was happening. I knew they were cheating on me. I knew things were happening around me, but I wasn't in a place where I could leave the situation. So I stayed in that situation way longer than I should have, way longer. And I can laugh about it now, but it took a lot to get to that point. But anyways, to the story, is when I was with this ex, I couldn't sleep well. There was no such thing as a good night's sleep. And it took me multiple years to realize that. And it was because there was so much bitterness in my heart from all this person was doing to hurt me. And I stayed in that situation. So the longer I stayed, the more the bitterness grew. The more the bitterness grew, the more it manifested itself in my body, in my health. And when it was all said and done, this person would take me to the hospital, leave me at the hospital, and go call another female. And go spend some time with another female. That's the kind of situation that I was in. So even when I was in the hospital, supposed to be recovering, where you're supposed to be stress-free, my brain was never at peace because I knew that when I am not with you, you're with other people I should not be with. That's an example of a situation that will control you to the point of affecting your health. When I got with my husband, that was one of the first things in our relationship that I noticed. Was he was the first man that I felt comfortable to fall asleep around, which spoke volumes for me. I felt secure in our relationship, in that we could watch a movie and I would fall asleep. I never fall asleep during a movie. I could be dead tired and I would never fall asleep with anybody else that I was with, because I didn't trust them. Because I knew the second I fell asleep, they would grab their phone and they would text someone they shouldn't be texted, or they would go outside and call someone they shouldn't be calling the second I fell. So because of that, I was always trying to like win the game. Like, I can't fall asleep. If I stay awake, he can't go call another girl. Doesn't that sound ridiculous? You're withholding sleep from your body in a way to try to control another person's actions. That person will do what they gonna do, boo. They're gonna call that girl they want to call, whether you fall asleep or not. They will find a way to do it. People will find ways to do what's important to them. So because of that, you cannot let these situations affect you. So that's relationships, that's intimate relationships. Let's talk about friendships. Quite often in friendships, we really open up ourselves to people. We really let it all out. You know, we share our deepest, darkest secrets, things like that with our friendships. We tend to do that. And when you share your deepest, darkest secrets with a friend, and that friendship ends, you feel like you've given them a piece of your heart, and they took it, walked away, and flushed it down the toilet. It's never coming back. It's gone. That's what it can feel like. In reality, what it often is that person didn't deserve that piece of your heart. Call a spade a spade. That person didn't deserve it. You unfortunately misjudged the situation, and they didn't deserve what you gave them. When that happens, we can often be left feeling really hurt, and most importantly, wanting explanations, because I find in intimate relationships, we don't necessarily want explanations as much as we want retribution. I find quite often when you're hurt in intimate relationships, you know the reasons, you have the explanations, but you just can't seem to understand it. So because of that, you either want the person to make up for the pain they've caused in one way or the other. You've got to make up for that, or we try to get them back. In friendships, I find that's not the same rules don't really apply. I find quite often in friendships, when friendships end, we want explanations. We want to know why this person stomped all over our relationship, our friendship. We want to know why this friendship that you thought was the world meant nothing to the other person. But what it is you have to come to realize that people will do what works for them, first and foremost. So I'm not saying you should change who you are because someone else is like that. If you're not that kind of person, don't become that kind of person because you interacted with someone like that. What it does mean is you need to align yourself in the right friendships, which means if you are someone who puts others first, if you are someone who loves to be there for others, if you are someone who takes joy in the little things, and you have a friend who's the complete opposite, what's going to happen is what they value is here, what you value is here. Those two things, you'll always be playing this, trying to balance the scales. And I find quite often those types of friendships, they don't last. And it's not because you don't care about each other. It's because you're constantly trying to balance what you value in friendships, and they're not the same. One of my closest friends right now, one of the things that we both value is time with family. We extremely treasure the time we spend with our family. So we are like thriving through the quarantine season because we're like, we get to have family time that's like uninterrupted and all of that. And her and I understand that about each other. So because we do, we don't take offense to bringing our families together and spending time together as families, and that counts as our time together as well. We are completely fine with that because we get the best of both worlds. We get to have our family with us while hanging out with our girlfriend. What? Like, the best of both worlds to us. So those type of friendships, for me, her and I, we both thrive off that because we both understand that. We both understand that time with my family comes first. It's nothing personal to any friend, but time with my family comes first. So I will always choose that because time with my family feels more limited, especially when you have children. When you have children and you realize that they are not always going to want to hang out with you. They're not always going to want to be your friend. That's just the reality of it. One day my son's going to grow up and be like, I'm good, mom. And I know that day is going to come. So while he's still cool with hanging out with me, why don't we hang out? So I think it's little things like that that tip the scales of friendship, that when friendships go south, quite often, if you reflect on values like that, they were never aligned. Because they were never aligned, it was only a matter of time before one of you got tired of trying to balance the scales and one of you said, you know what, I'm done. And because they're done, the scale will slowly start to do this until someone leaves. That's just the way it works. All of that to say this, there are a few key things to forgiveness. One is letting go of the expectation for an apology, an explanation, acknowledgement of pain. Letting go of that expectation is a huge part of forgiveness. The second part is releasing the person of the power they have over you, over your body, over physiological reactions that you can control. 3 is recognizing that when you usually reflect on from start to finish of that relationship, most of the time it was never the right relationship for you. If you can accept those 3 things, I promise you, you will be on a fast track to forgiving both yourself and the other person for whatever they have done to you. So hopefully that wasn't too long and I tried to really get it all out there. If you have any questions, comment box below. I'll be glad to chat with you. Hit me in my DMs, Instagram at wemi. I can chat with you all day about these kind of topics. So have a great day and I will catch you next time. Bye.